Hey there, I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate.
And today we're taking a look at Canopy by Weird City Games.
Canopy is a game for 1 to 4 players, although it is primarily a 2-player game. There is a solo variant. And in fact, you can check out my solo playthrough video on this game by clicking that eye in the top right corner and it'll take you to that. There's also a 3 and 4 player variant, but it is mainly a 2-player card drafting game. Some set collection in this one. You're trying to complete different sets of plants and animals. You're also trying to complete trees. Let's take a look at it down below, show you how it works, and then we'll come back and share our thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer.
All right, here's Canopy on the table. Let me show you guys this card drafting game. You are going to have the game set up like so, where you have these 2 cards here that are just cards. You're going to put them together to formulate your drafting board area. And then you have a 3rd card that's over here that shows you the different seasons. You're going to have the deck divided into roughly thirds. You're going to have your first current season, your second season, and your 3rd season. And then you have this special deck of seed cards we'll come back to here in just a second. You can see some of the other components up here in the top. I'll come back to that here in just a second. This is a drafting game at heart. What you are going to do, you're going to have 3 different growth piles with cards face down. 1 card in the first growth pile, 2 in the second, 3 in the third. And how this game works is you're going to start on your turn looking at what's in the first growth pile. So we'll go ahead and look at that. And it's a fire card. I don't really want that. I'll come back to why I don't want that here in a second. Every time you pass over a card that you don't want, you are going to add a card to it. So this pile of cards has become more valuable because I've added a card to it, but I don't know what that card is. So next I look at the second pile and I see a drought card, which I really don't want, and a bromelia, which is nice, but I might want to see what's in the 3rd pile because it has 3 cards. So I'm going to pass on this as well. And again, whenever you pass over cards, you add another card into it. And I take a look at the 3rd pile. And I see another bromelia, a tree stump, and a leaf cutter ant. So I might take this, and when I take this, I just add it into my area. And now, every player starts the game with a tree trunk. And this tree trunk has no points on it, whereas the tree trunks that you come across later in the game may have some points on them. We'll come back to points here in just a second. But you add it into your area, and any animal cards are just going to go there. If you have the matching animal, you're going to place it on top of that animal. And the same thing with plants. Any plants that you have are just going to go into your area, but if you have that plant already, you're going to place it with that plant. You're going to refill the area that you just drew from, and so that is going to have 1 card there. Now, let's pretend for just a second that I hadn't taken this pile. If I said, you know what, I'm going to pass over that pile too, then not only would I add a card to this pile, because again, I passed over it, but I would be forced to take the top card from this deck, not knowing what it is, and I'm just stuck with that card. But as such, I'll go ahead and take the cards that I drew. Now, on your tree trunk cards, come back to tree trunks, how these work, you are either going to start a completely new tree by placing it like that, or you are going to continue a tree that has not already been completed. And how that works is you place 1 card on top of the other with the picture of the tree growing taller and taller, leaving room for the point numbers that might be on the tops of those cards. Now, some of the other cards that you are going to encounter in the game are seed cards, and the way seed cards work, at the end of a season, for every one of these that you've drawn, you're going to get to draw some cards from this seed card deck, which are just duplicate copies of some of the other cards in the game, giving you chances to complete different sets or complete trees, so on and so forth. Now, not only do you get to draw cards based off of how many seed cards you've taken, but it increases the number of cards you get to keep, because you only get to draw 3 but keep 1. But for every fire card you have, you get to keep an additional 1. And so let's cover what fire cards are. Now, these are threat cards. Fire and disease are going to be your threat cards. And what fire is going to do, if you have just one, no big deal. But if you have 2 fire cards, then you're going to have to discard 2 plants. If you have 3, then you're going to have to discard 2 plants, and your opponent is going to have to discard a plant as well. And with disease, same thing, same idea, except it's with your animals, not your plants. So that's how that works. Now, your animal cards, coming back to those, you've got tons of different animals in the game, and there's always going to be a mate for each one. So there's going to be 2, and 1 typically is going to give you points, just straight points. You can see here that if you only have 1 toucan, it's going to give you 2 points, but if you have both, it's going to give you 5, while the other toucan is going to have a special ability on it. Once per season before your turn, you may peek at 1 pile. That's pretty nice. Plus, this one also gives you a point. So that's how the animals work. Now, your plants are going to be some set collection. You can see here with the fern as an example, if you only have 1, it's worth 2 points. But if you have 2, it's worth none. If you have 3, it's worth 6, and so on and so forth. So you really want to pay attention to what you need to complete your sets. Here's another example, the bromelia. You only want, at most, 2 of these. You don't want 3 or more because you're going to lose points. And then there are weather cards. And so weather cards are going to, you want to complete the set with these as well. You want to get a pair of rain and sun to get 5 points. If you have only just 1, it's worth nothing. I've already shown you how the tree cards work, but there are canopy cards, which are extremely important because you want to complete your trees at some point, because at the end of each season, there is going to be an award given to the tallest tree. Whoever has the tallest tree in the first season is going to get 3 points, second season 4, third season 5 points. And whoever has the most completed trees throughout the entire game is going to get the largest forest, and that is going to be worth 10 points at the end of the game. You use one of these little cute animal tokens to put on top of trees whenever you score them at the end of a season so that you don't mistakenly score them again in later seasons. And that's the gist of the game. You count up however many points you have at the end of 3 seasons. Whoever has the most is the winner. There are a couple of other additional components here. You got more cards here that are for a more advanced variant of the game that you can introduce yourself to after you've played it a few times. And then you also have this module here where you are going to draw a card at the beginning of every season, and it will change it'll add 1 extra rule per season, such as this. Each time you take a pile with 1 or more threat cards, draw the top card from the season deck and add it to your forest. So you can see how that can be a nice little addition to your game. And that's what you get here with Canopy. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one.
All right, we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Canopy from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. Sam, first impressions, seeing this on the board, you've got all these trees and plants and animals. What were your first thoughts?
My first thoughts are we've played a lot of animal-themed games recently and a lot of card games related to animals. So really, I was kind of like, how's this going to be different?
Okay.
So that was my initial thought. What's going to make this game any different than any of the other games that we've been playing lately?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is a game that, it's a card drafting game, and there are, drafting games are a dime a dozen. There's a lot of them out there. The theme with trees and the jungle forest theme is one that I've seen in some other games. But the artwork on this one, it's Vincent Dutrait. He does fantastic artwork. For me, that was something that really brought me to it. It's one of the reasons why I looked so closely at it on Kickstarter and I decided to back it was because of how beautiful this game is.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely beautiful with those cards that you're stacking the trees and putting the canopies on them, the animals. I mean, all of it works really well as far as it looks. Let's talk about the gameplay with this one. It is a drafting game. And it's a different take on drafting in the sense that you're not picking up cards and seeing them and passing them off to the next player, keeping some, leaving behind some others. You're leaving the entire pile of cards. You're adding cards to that pile before you even get an idea of what's to come in the other piles. What were your thoughts on that?
I Really enjoyed this game. I think this is probably one of my favorite
Wow.
drafting games because of the different type of drafting that it is.
Okay.
It took some of that pressure that
What do I pick? What do I pick?
yes,
Yeah.
out of it.
Yeah.
And because you're adding cards with each one that you pass on, I don't know. There's just something about it. Sometimes you're getting one card, but it's a card that you usually
Absolutely need,
really
yeah.
want.
Right.
Or you're getting 4 cards and you have a lot of options with that. And even though it's a bad card, it might not be a bad card because you only have one of it.
Yeah.
And you have a good card, but then you get 4 of them and now they're negative.
Now they're bad cards. Yeah.
And I just thought that it was very interesting. There were so many dynamics with it, and with games that have that much going on, a lot of times aren't going to be good for non-gamers or going to be confusing, but it wasn't, because it flowed really well and it gave you so many options. Like, I focused a lot on the trees, and that did really well for me at the beginning, but Lance had a really tall tree, and
I got a Canopy that scored
And
2
he
points per
ended
tree,
up-
and that gave me it gave me a ton
but I
of
had
points.
7 trees and he had 4.
All right. Yeah.
And so, you know, he had more animals than I did, but my 2 animals had some really interesting
abilities. Yeah.
And so I just thought this was a very well done game. It was easy to understand. I loved it. I really liked it.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed my experience with this, both at the solo and the 2-player. I'll be honest with you guys, I've not gotten a chance to do the 3 or 4-player variant on this one. But even if the 3 and 4-player didn't work out great, which I would find hard to believe, because I don't see it being much different than how the 2-player experience is. The 2-player experience with this game is exceptional. It is very well done. Even the solo player experience was a fun experience with it. It's challenging. I barely won. If you watch that playthrough video, I won by 1 point. And yeah, it is set collection. And the interesting thing for me on the set collection aspect of this game is that, one, those sets reset after each season. So it's not an overall game thing. It's I'm getting a set now. Next season, I'm trying to get that set again, or maybe I'm getting a completely different set. That was cool. And then also on those sets, they each score so differently. Mm-hmm. You want odds with this one and not evens, or you want to make sure you stay under 3 or 2.
Yeah.
But on this one, you want to make sure to get above 3.
Yeah.
Like, each one is so different.
I think after playing it once, playing it again, knowing better of what each card does, I could play better.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pass on as many as I did maybe the first time, but I think that's what makes it such a great game, because you're finished with it and you're like, let's do it again. Let me try again.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. This has just got so many positives going for it, and it's an easy experience. There's not a whole lot of explanation to have to get into this game. You do kind of want to explain the different sets and how those work, or the different animals and how those actions might work. But man, you can explain this in under 10 minutes. The whole game itself plays in under 30 minutes. It's a really good experience with this one, and it looks beautiful on the table.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's get into our pros and cons for Canopy from a non-gamer's perspective. Sam, what did you really like with this one?
I love
Everything.
I love the artwork. I loved the gameplay. It's just, it felt really good playing it. I mean, just all the options and the card drafting, I really enjoyed that. I think the only con, and it takes up a lot of space.
I was thinking the same thing. I was going to see if you were going to say it, and I was going to throw it out there if you didn't.
But there's a lot going on, but not in like a confusing way. It's just you needed a good sized table.
You do. You do need some space to play this one. This isn't going to be one that you can play on like a coffee table. Well, I mean, depending on your coffee table, I suppose. With the trees, especially the fact that they get so tall and the canopies are wide.
Yeah, but it is very nitpicky.
That is extremely nitpicky. Is that the foot space on this one? The footprint is a little big. I think for the reason why I throw that out there, though, is I take a look at it, and it's such a small box that I wouldn't expect that.
There is so much, and I would have not expected that many cards and that much of a game in this box, which I think makes it fantastic because this is a great thing to travel with, which is something we're always considering because we travel a lot.
Right.
This is one that I think is going to always come with us.
Yeah. No, I think that the positives on this one, I mean, completely diminish the one con that we have with it. So for sure. Let's get into our scores for Canopy. Scale of 1 to 10. Love to hate. How high are you going on Canopy?
This is one of my favorite games that I've played this year.
Okay.
And I have a short-term memory, so I'm probably not thinking.
I can't remember anything beyond a week ago.
I'm like, this week it's a great game. I would rate it really high, though. I mean, I'm thinking like, I know you're going to say, wow, really? I'm thinking like 9.2. Like, I really liked this game.
All right.
It was really enjoyable until I lost, and that's
Tim Eisner, good job. Yeah. You got my wife to rate a game above a 9.
I don't think I've done a 9 this year.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Okay, so I think this means then we're never getting rid of this game.
No, this is here to stay for sure.
It's here to stay. Yeah. It's got a spot on the shelf, maybe somewhere right here.
Yeah, not on the shelf behind the camera.
Okay, yeah. I'm not that high on Canopy. I'm not in the 9s, but I am in the 8s. I think I give this game an 8.4, and that is simply for a lot of the things that we've already said. The one thing that we haven't said is because I know how much you enjoyed it getting to play. And one of the things that is so important for me as a gamer when playing a game, especially with non-gamers, is that I feel like everybody is enjoying the experience. It is such a dampener on the experience whenever I know somebody's like, this game is just, can it be over?
Which is the rest of Lance's life.
No, come on. And I know you did not have that experience at all with this game.
Yeah.
In fact, it was a very positive experience with this game. And so for me, that means this is a keeper. This is definitely one that works real well. Solidly well with non-gamers because of how well the drafting works with it, and it's easy to grasp, easy to understand, and it's good fun choices to be made throughout it. So 8.4 for me on Canopy. That is Canopy from Weird City Games. Go check it out.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.